Sunday, millions of us tune in to the NFL for excitement, drama, and entertainment. We see the highlights, the rivalries, the glory of touchdowns and Super Bowl rings. But what we don't see, or what we try to forget, is the human cost. Behind the spectacle, the NFL treats its players not as people, but as commodities, assets, disposable parts in the richest sports business in America. This isn't just about money, or contracts, or headlines. It's about how the league has burned through generation after generation of players, leaving behind broken bodies, broken minds, and broken lives. Go back to 1971. Detroit Lions wide receiver Chuck Hughes collapsed during a game against the Chicago Bears. He was rushed to the hospital, but pronounced dead less than an hour later. He is still the only NFL player to die on the field. And yet, after a brief pause, the game continued. Fans went back to cheering. The league didn't stop. To the NFL machine, Hughes was one man in a uniform, a replaceable part. The show had to go on. Earl Campbell, one of the most dominant running backs ever, spent his career carrying defenders on his back. He won MVP, rushed for thousands of yards, and became a Hall of Famer, but the league left him battered. In retirement, Campbell struggled to walk, his body destroyed by years of punishment. His name still sells highlight reels, but the toll it took on him personally is rarely acknowledged. Sterling Sharp was one of the most talented receivers of his generation. By 29, he was out of football, forced into retirement because of a neck injury. At the time, he was on track to break records and redefine the position. For decades, he was left out of the Hall of Fame conversation, not because of his talent, but because his career was cut short by the very violence the league profits from. Only in 2024, long after his prime, was he finally recognized with induction. His story is a reminder that the NFL doesn't protect its players. It erases them until history demands their return. The average NFL career lasts only 3.3 years. That statistic alone tells you everything you need to know. You spend your whole life preparing to reach the NFL. Only a tiny fraction of athletes make it. And when you finally get there, odds are you'll be out before your 27th birthday, body broken, contract voided, and future uncertain. The league knows this, and it builds its business on a revolving door of talent. Even the modern stars we thought would carry the league for years have been pushed out early. Andrew Luck was supposed to be the savior of the Indianapolis Colts, the quarterback who would bring back glory after Peyton Manning. Instead, years of punishment left him constantly injured and in pain. In 2019, at just 29 years old, Luck retired in tears. His body was shattered, and he admitted the endless cycle of surgery and rehab had taken away the joy of the game. Fans in Indianapolis booed him as he walked off the field for the last time. To the league, he was no longer a valuable asset. Chris Borland is another story that shook the NFL. A promising linebacker for the 49ers, Borland retired after only one season. Why? Because he feared what the game would do to his brain. He had seen the data on concussions, heard the stories about CTE, and decided his health and future were worth more than an NFL career. He gave up millions of dollars in potential earnings because he knew what the league wouldn't admit. Playing linebacker in the NFL is a gamble with your brain. And what about the players who dare to speak up? Colin Kaepernick was a Super Bowl quarterback, young, dynamic, and talented. But when he chose to kneel during the national anthem to protest police brutality, he never played another down. He was blackballed, erased from the league, not because he wasn't good enough, but because he was inconvenient. His teammate, Eric despite his talent. Cam Newton was an MVP, a Super Bowl quarterback, and one of the most marketable stars in the league. Once injuries slowed him down, he was discarded almost instantly. The NFL doesn't reward loyalty. It doesn't reward past greatness. The moment a player's value dips, they are cut loose. The darkest stories, though, come from the hidden toll of injuries. Junior Seau was one of the greatest linebackers ever, a Hall of Famer who defined toughness. In 2012, he took his own life. An autopsy revealed he had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, the brain disease caused by repeated head trauma. Mike Webster, the legendary center for the Pittsburgh Steelers, suffered from dementia, depression, and financial ruin before dying at just 50 years old. These weren't average players. They were icons, and their suffering forced the league to finally acknowledge what it had denied for decades. Football destroys brains. And here's something most fans don't realize. The fight for player health and financial stability didn't come from the NFL itself. It came from the Players Union. The NFL Players Association was founded in 1956 because athletes had no rights, no health care, no pension, no voice. Players were expected to suit up, play, and then disappear. The owners controlled everything. The early union battles were fierce. It took strikes, lawsuits, and constant pressure just to get the league to agree to a pension plan in the 1960s. Even then, most players didn't qualify. To this day, you need at least 3 credited seasons in the NFL to earn a pension, and with the average career only lasting 3.3 years, many never make it. Imagine sacrificing your body for the league and walking away with nothing, not even basic retirement benefits. Gene Upshaw, who led the NFLPA for decades, fought relentlessly to expand pensions, secure health care, and win free agency for players. But every gain was hard-won. Troy Vincent, who once served as a union leader before becoming an NFL executive, has spoken about how much resistance there was just to provide medical coverage for retired players. The NFL only gave ground when forced. Even concussion settlements and disability payments came after lawsuits and public scandals, not out of compassion. This is the truth about the NFL. Even the most basic rights for players, healthcare, pensions, safety, had to be dragged out of the league through years of union battles. And even now, thousands of former players are still fighting in court for fair treatment. And if you think the superstars are immune, think again. Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, missed an entire season in 2008 after tearing his ACL. Patrick Mahomes, the current face of the NFL, dislocated his knee in 2019 and limped through the rest of the year. Aaron Rodgers has had multiple devastating injuries, from a broken collarbone in 2017 to a torn Achilles on the very first drive of his 2023 season with the Jets. Joe Montana, once invincible, was hit so hard and so often that the 49ers eventually replaced him. Peyton Manning's neck surgeries nearly ended his career before he found a brief second act in Denver. If the icons, Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, Montana, Manning, aren't safe, what chance does the average special teams player or backup lineman have? This is the truth the NFL hides. The machine doesn't care about the names on the jerseys. It cares about production. It cares about ratings. It cares about money. Players are bodies to be used, marketed, and replaced. Some will make millions. Some will become legends. But most will leave the game with broken bodies, damaged minds, and little to show for the sacrifice they gave. The NFL sells us dreams. It sells us the spectacle of Sunday afternoons and Super Bowl parades. touchdown or see a record-breaking contract scroll across the screen, remember the truth. Remember Andrew Luck walking away in tears. Remember Chris Borland giving up his career to save his mind. Remember Junior Seau, Mike Webster, Chuck Hughes, and all the others the league consumed and discarded.